What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are going to talk about the all-new 2022 Subaru WRX. Now behind me is a 2019 WRX. We're going to take it for a quick spin and kind of talk about what I think about the new one based off of what Subaru has announced so far, and of course we'll be driving the outgoing model. Real quick, huge shout out and thank you to Champion Car Company. They are providing this 2019 WRX for today's video. They have a huge selection of pre-owned cars and they always get STIs and WRXs in stock, so check out their website down below. So to start off with what is going to power the all-new WRX, the outgoing model has a 2.4 liter turbocharged boxer 4-cylinder engine with 268 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Now the only noticeable difference really as far as performance goes is going to be the 2022 WRX now pumps out 271 horsepower, so a slight increase in horsepower, pretty much the same engine fundamentally, not really anything crazy different. I know for 2019 I think they updated it a little bit from the previous generations, but pretty much the same power plant, so don't expect the car to really be any faster to drive or anything like that. And then as far as what delivers the power to the symmetrical all-wheel drive, which is still the same from both cars, you of course get a 6-speed manual standard in both vehicles, and there was a CVT automatic transmission available for this model. The new one still has the same CVT transmission. However, Subaru is kind of talking about how it has an 8-speed manual shift mode. So basically they're making fake gears within the transmission, which I don't think the automatic is the car to buy anyways. The manual is the way to go, but nonetheless for power plant it's pretty identical. Now, one of the most noticeable differences is going to be the upgraded interior. The interior is much different on the new WRX comparing it to the outgoing model. If we take a look at the door panel on the previous generations, it's pretty simple looking as you can see. The new one's a little bit sharper in design. And then when we look at the overall dashboard, the massive screen that you now get in the 2022 WRX is going to be a huge upgrade. I don't mind the way this 2019 looks. The outgoing model still looks pretty nice and updated, but it's nothing crazy modern. It doesn't really match all the newest, latest, and greatest cars. So the all-new interior definitely looks really sporty, and I'm really impressed with what Subaru has done for the new WRX. The seats as well, the GT model, which is a new trim level for the WRX, has the Recaro seats, and they have huge bolsters on the bottom and on the back. So I think Subaru did a killer job with these new seats. If we look at the Recaro seats that are in the outgoing WRX, the backs look really good with larger bolsters. However, the bases look pretty much the same as the normal WRX or STI seats. So I wouldn't say they're legit Recaros with huge bolsters like the new one gets, and a lot of other cars have much better bucket seats than this car. But nonetheless, this outgoing model has a decent set of seats and a pretty sporty interior. So now that we are in the WRX, we can take it for a spin and talk a little bit more about the new one versus the old one and what I'm thinking with this new one. So another really cool thing is the new trim level, the GT, that's going to actually have an adaptive suspension with dampers that can be adjusted. There's going to be different driving modes, which is really cool. In the STI of this generation, there are different drive modes where you can change the differential, how much power is sent to the front wheels, the rear wheels, things like that. The WRX does not have that. You can see this blank area right here to where this car just doesn't have that. It's all one drive mode. But nonetheless, these are really fun cars to drive. But I think with the updated suspension, and I believe the chassis is about 30% stiffer, so I think the new car is going to handle quite a lot better than this as well. Now I am a little bummed that power levels are not going to be increased. These aren't slow cars, but they certainly are not fast cars. I do like the low torque, how around 3,000 to 4,500 RPM, this thing is peppy. This does kind of feel snappy, it gets up to speed quickly, but there's not really any top end power, and there's not really like that throw you back in your seat acceleration. Even the STI, which is a little bit quicker than this, has closer to 300 something horsepower. That one still doesn't put you back in your seat that bad. It's a little bit peppier than this, of course. But with the new WRX, I was expecting it to have actually some big increase in power, but we're not going to see that. So I think handling is going to be the biggest change that you're going to notice. I'm excited to drive one of them at some point. I have been in these cars a lot. I've probably driven 50 different WRX STIs of this generation, especially back in the day when I used to work and sell a lot of cars like this. Now, we'll do one last little acceleration just to feel out that torque, and then talk about my biggest gripe with the car. But right now, like that little peppy right there, nice pep to its step. But then my biggest issue with it is the styling. I'm not a fan at all of what it looks like. Subaru has said, I think on their main website with the 2022, they've said in 3 different areas on their website about the new Fender Flares. They said they're, bold, aggressive styling, very in-your-face styling is what Subaru is kind of talking about with the new Fender Flares. So basically you have black Fender Flare trim that fades its way to the side skirt, the front bumper, the rear. There's a bar connecting the rear tail lights as well. It's not an LED bar, but it's like a black piece of trim. I don't like those fenders at all, especially being in the black color. It honestly looks too much like a Subaru, and you may think that's kind of a dumb thing to say since of course it's a Subaru, but with this WRX, I feel like this is a nice looking, sporty looking sedan that happens to be built by Subaru. I don't think if you put this car up next to the Outback or the Forester, people are gonna necessarily think they look the same. The other Subaru lineups all have those thick Fender Flares. They kind of have that woodsy look, you're gonna take it on trails. The WRX has always kind of had just that cool looking style, and I don't feel like a lot of WRX and STI owners are Subaru owners. I don't really see many people owning this car alongside a Forester. I see people who own these and then they might have a truck or an exotic car or an import car or something like that with it. The new WRX, it looks like it fits right in the lines with what a Subaru is going to look like, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't think most WRX owners, like I said, are the biggest fans of the rest of Subaru's lineup. From at least my own friends who own these, I know quite a few people who own these, and none of them have any interest in owning other Subarus. So I can kind of see why Subaru has done that. They're making their cars look more identical, and as we passed, I believe, a Forester, see, that doesn't really look as sporty and cool as something like this. And I feel like the new WRX styling is just making it look too much like that. It looks like what you would think a sporty sedan from Subaru is going to look like, rather than just looking like a nice sporty sedan that Subaru happens to build. So I'm not a fan of those Fender Flares, and I've only seen really the pictures with them in that black color, contrasting against the orange or contrasting against like a white or something. I feel like if they were body color, that might actually help out quite a bit. I like the aggressive styling. I think that's really done well, but I think the color is what's killing it for me, at least for right now, just because with cars that do have wide bodies or any sort of Fender Flare, I just think cars that have any sort of Fender Flare or wide body, they're always body colored, which makes the body look bigger. When you take them and change them to a completely different color, it throws it off to me and it looks like a truck. Trucks will have maybe plastic black Fender Flares. The other Subaru lineup will have that plastic black on the Fender Flares too. So to me, that's what's killing it. It's looking too much like a Subaru. The interior, I think they did a great job. I love how the big screen is right there. That's going to be an awesome upgrade. The new Recaros are going to be way better than these ones, because these ones, the bolsters literally are useless. My legs go all the way over them. I mean, these are not actually bucket seats at all. There's no bolsters to them. They just look a little better than the basic seat. You do get some stitching, the logo, and the red accents. But these, comparing it to even a few years ago STI seats, they don't really look any different. For being Recaros, it's kind of a gimmick on this car. So I think Subaru did kill the new interior. It's going to be great. As long with that, I think the handling is going to be a big improvement just because of the chassis rigidity is increased. Of course, you still have the all-wheel drive. Power, you can probably still tune it and get some more power out of it, which is always a good thing. But yeah, so that's the new Subaru WRX. I would be interested in hearing your guys' opinions. How do you guys like that new design? The Fender Flares to me are just not really getting it with me. I will say, I'm glad, of course, a manual is still available, because that is the transmission to get, and I think it was a horrible idea to have a CVT in it. I can't believe that they would even sell many of them, and it's kind of just not the transmission for a car like this. Other cars that are kind of similar, like an Audi S3, you get a dual clutch transmission. A dual clutch, a million times better than any CVT, and they're kind of just making fake gears with the 8-speed shiftable manual mode. There's no gears in the CVT, so that's kind of a gimmicky thing. Talking more about the styling, the overall look of it, I do feel like the back end looks like a Honda Civic. I've seen photos of it from the back, and I've seen it right next to the new Honda Civics in pictures. It definitely looks like a Civic from the back, and then a Subaru everywhere else. This car, I do remember a lot of people calling it a Corolla. They said it kind of looked like a Toyota Corolla. This car has a lot more understated design, but I feel feel like this just has a nice, subtle, tasty, classy look to it, where it looks aggressive enough, but it's not in your face with, you know, crazy bold styling that might look a little weird. And to me, it doesn't look like just a Corolla or a Honda Civic. This one looks a little bit more sporty and kind of looks like a slightly edgy version of an Audi S3, which I'm a big fan of that car a lot. I think they're pretty sweet. So the styling just is going to take a little bit to get me on board with how the 2022 WRX is going to look. But I think if you delete the black bar on the rear trunk lid, even the new Toyota, the GR86 has that black bar, and it makes it look like an Acura or something. It just doesn't look quite right on a sporty car. I'm not a fan of that at all. So I think if they take the black bar off, or even on the aftermarket, if you just paint it body color, paint all the black trim body color, I think that'll make it look a lot nicer. And then I did see a render with the STI wing on the back, and that helped out a lot. So I think the new WRX overall is going to be a really good upgrade from this car. It's basically going to be a much more modern, up-to-date interior, really nice bucket seats, nice technology, all the same safety systems that new Subarus have. This car, we don't get the Subaru eyesight or any sort of technology like that, no lane keeping assist. So I think the new one's going to have all of that available. And while the premium versions of this, of course, could have some of that, I think the new ones are definitely going to have more technology, which is kind of coming standard on new cars. They're having more and more safety technology. But the new car is definitely going to have that going for it. The handling is going to be a nice improvement as well, with the increased chassis rigidity, suspension increases, power level. It's going to probably accelerate the same. I don't see it being any faster, 0 to 60. Same drivetrain, you know, same power, a couple horsepower difference, not really going to make a difference. So unfortunately, no crazy power gain. And then the styling is just the biggest thing to me that just not quite right. But I think overall it's going to be a pretty cool car, and it's nice to see Subaru update this car. We've filmed a few reviews of 2020s and 2021 WRXs and STIs, and I'd say the biggest comment we get is people asking, when are they going to make a new WRX? It's been a little while with this car. I want to say it was 14 or 15 when this generation came out. So 6-ish years with this car. It's been a little bit of time, of course. But it'll be cool to see them hit the dealers. This one, though, I still think is going to be a great car to buy now, just because with production delays, it might take quite a while to get the new ones on lots and actually have somewhat of an inventory. So the outgoing WRX is still going to be readily available for the people who want something right now. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the 2022 Subaru WRX. Comment below, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with what I said? Do you like the styling? Do you like those Fender Flares? Do you like all the other upgrades with it? And do you think it looks too much like a Subaru, or does it look just right? Let me know. Shout out and thank you once again to Champion Car Company letting me drive this WRX for today's video. And if you did enjoy today's video, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you in the